In today's market, this makes zero sense. And that's the moment when the owners will start panicking. It becomes completely irrelevant if the project has a wrong payment plan. Hi everyone, it's Alexandru Birca here as usual, and today I want to share with you my knowledge which I believe will do you a big favor when you will be searching for your next property here in Dubai. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to dig deeper today and to understand the real power of the payment plans here in Dubai and which are the consequences of choosing one payment plan from another. Let's first agree on something extremely important. When we speak about a project, it is important to understand that there are two cycles. The first cycle is basically once the property is still under construction. And there is the second stage when basically the property becomes completed. And these two cycles are extremely different one to another. The problem is that most of the times the agents don't understand the difference of the two cycles themselves, and that's why they don't explain to the customers. In today's market, unlike 2020 or 2021, you can only exit from a project with a slight premium if you are 1.5 years before the completion. So let's say if you bought a property where the construction period of time is 4 years, 3.5 years or 3 years, you can only consider exiting from it once you are at least 1.5 or even less time until the property gets completed. Now pay attention to this. Whatever you heard from me in the last 20 to 30 seconds becomes completely irrelevant if the project has a wrong payment plan. We are going to discuss about 3 types of payment plans in Dubai, and even though it's not a rule of thumb, that's what most of the times really happens. The first red flag in my opinion is whenever a payment plan gives you a huge amount to be paid on completion. And when I say huge amount, I mean 50% on completion, 60% on completion, or even 70% on completion. For example, let's take my beloved Peninsula Four, which in my opinion is one of the very best projects not only in Business Bay, but in the whole city center of Dubai. Now, because of the flexible payment plan of 40% during construction and 60% on completion, there are not a lot of transactions going with at least some premium on top of the original price. So think about this, even though we discuss about a top project, top developer, top location, top concept, because of the payment plan, people still cannot make money in less than 1 year from completion. Now, why this is happening? Let's say, for example, I am a buyer and I'm looking now to buy an apartment in Peninsula Four. My very first thought is that I will not buy right now. Why? There are a lot of buyers who took their apartments thinking, I'll pay 40%, I'll wait until the completion, I will sell 30% more expensive than the original price, and I'll double the equity that I invested. Now I'm a buyer and I know these things. That's why when I will considering buying an apartment in Peninsula 4, what I will do is I will wait 6 months, 5 months or 4 months to completion. And that's the moment when the owners will start panicking. Believe me, more than 40% of the customers don't have or don't want to pay the 60% on completion. So although now they list their properties 30% above the original price, they will reduce their appetite as the time is passing. That's why most of the times the payment plans with 50, 60, 70 or 80% payable on completion are not for the customers looking to flip before completion. The appreciation, for example, in Peninsula 4 will definitely happen, but it will happen only after the 100% of the payment is done. Full stop. The second type of, let's say, red flag payment plan is basically when you see the post-completion payment plan. Believe me, in today's market, this makes zero sense. Developers like Danube, Samana, or let's say new developers coming to Dubai sell you the dream of paying only 1%, 2% per month, so basically a dream becomes a reality. This doesn't work like that. The first thing that you need to know before buying something with post-completion payment plan is that if you are not a resident of UAE, you don't have a bank account. And if you don't have a bank account, you don't have a checkbook. And if you don't have a checkbook, you will not be able to provide to the developer the so-called post-dated checks. So once you get to the completion, the developers will not give you the key unless they will receive the post-dated checks, as this is kind of a guarantee for them that you will be paying for your property. And if you are not a resident, again, you don't have a bank account and you don't have the checks. And you'll need to pay the full amount on completion, basically making this payment plan useless. Also pay attention, if you are buying with post-completion, 99% of the times you are paying a big premium of 10 to 15, maybe 20% on top of the market price. With this type of properties on the market, don't look at the overall cost of the apartment. Check the balcony size, check the internal area, and then look at the price per square foot of the usable area. I can guarantee it's more expensive than, let's say, the competition on the market without a post-completion plan. Another important thing about the post-completion payment plan is that most of the times, and you are not being told about this, you'll not be able to resell your property to another customer and to pass him this post-completion payment plan. So the new buyer will get the same property, but let's say the 36 post-completion plan will become an amount to be paid on completion. So that's why if you buy with post-completion payment plan, you'll never resell it. Okay, 99% of the time, you'll not resell it while still under construction. Full stop. And now we come to the third type of payment plan, which in my opinion, in today's market, gives you the most. This is the typical payment plan which Emaar operates with, or let's say Miras, for the last 2-3 years, where you pay 80% during construction and the last amount on the completion. First of all, this is the type of payment plan that attracts people who can afford the full property price. They don't think that they will pay 40% or 50% of the price and they will sell it. That's not the mindset of an Emaar customer. 20% to be paid on completion is a different story than 60% to be paid on completion. That's why an Emaar customer is not afraid to wait until the completion and to pay the 20% of the money. That's a different amount. An owner will not drop the price before the completion, and in this way he will not make your life tougher if you are in the same project with him. By the way, an important thing to notice, if you look at the mass market segment, let's name the developers: Ellington, Shoba, Emaar, Damak, Danube, Samana, and so on, Imtiaz. The lowest price per square foot usually comes from Emaar. That's the paradox in Dubai's real estate market. And I'm not even speaking about the amount of infrastructure that you get around you once you buy from Emaar. That's a no-brainer. That's why with Emaar, if you reach to the stage when you are 1.5 years away from the completion, at least in the worst case scenario, you will be able to sell your property for the original price plus the DLD payment fees. So you are not losing anything. But I mean, 80-90% of the times you'll make at least 25 to 50% appreciation from the equity invested. And for me, it's very easy to name you concrete examples. Let's speak about the Valley, for example, Lilia, Orania, Elvira. We can speak about Dubai Hills, Parkfield, Lime Gardens, Hills Park. Then we can discuss about Mina Rashid, Seascape, Sunridge. We can look at Arabian Ranches 3 and so on. All the projects which are now 1.5 years before the completion will generate you at least 15 to 20% appreciation. And believe me, that's not the case even with the market that is going up right now. On the secondary market, that's not the case with other names on the market. That's why with this video, what I want to tell you is please don't jump into these amazing payment plans which on the paper look fantastic. Now look, if you wish to know some more information, you can always text me on WhatsApp. You have my credentials below. I'll be more than happy to assist you with any inquiry. And on to the next time. I wish you all a productive day. Bye-bye.